Black Pearl. Black Pearl. Black Pearl. Black Pearl. Black Pearl.
Convicted for it, basically. You don't get to decide the context of what you said, other people don't get to. The court decides to. That's dangerous.
You're on YouTube, you distributed an image.
The White House held some kind of briefing for new media, specifically. And I'm a big fan. That's basically what I was asking for or asking about when I was there. Because they've opened up this big room with all these seats to the White House Correspondents Association. It's elites. They ask stupid questions most of the time. No disrespect to the ones that are actually trying, but largely it's a, I'm going to argue with the Trump administration moment. Well, at this special session, Winston Marshall, a Grammy award-winning rock star, requested, or I should say, asked whether or not they would consider asylum for British shitposters. I kid you not. And of course, the most famous UK shitposter that comes to mind is Count Dankula. The moment we saw this story, I was like, oh, we got to do Dankula. We got to do an opening bit showing Dankula getting arrested. Because in the UK, they don't have free speech. And if you post naughty words on the internet, they will lock you up. Now, check this out. From the New York Post. Grammy-winning rock star stuns Carolyn Levitt with free speech question. Interesting. They say Winston Marshall, the former banjoist with British folk group Mumford & Sons, called on President Trump to grant asylum to his fellow countrymen and women who faced prosecution over hate speech in the UK. Let's go. I say, not even grant asylum. I say mandate. Okay, Trump, I want special forces capturing several British individuals and bringing them here. Okay, so we're going to get the Lotus Eaters podcast, Carl Benjamin, by force, just forced relocation here to the United States. Congratulations, you're American. Count Dankula, we're sending in the troops. We're bringing you here. And of course, Tommy Robinson should be granted asylum. But that's more serious. I mean, I'm kidding about, kidnapping Carl and Dank and sending him over. But Tommy Robinson legit needs asylum over what he's talking about, because this is no joke. They're going to mention that Marshall left the band in 2021. He claimed that people in his country faced extensive prison sentences for tweets, social media posts, and general free speech issues before ramping up to his question. Quote, would the Trump administration consider asylum for British citizens in such a situation? He asked Marshall, who now hosts his own podcast, The Winston Marshall Show, for which I recently appeared on. Winston Marshall is a scholar and a gentleman. He's a smart guy. He stood up for himself. I believe the issue with Winston, he read Andy Ngo's book, Heaven's Me, and the band booted him out. Or he ended up leaving. I don't remember the specific details, but it's a messy story, and it is BS. But dude has not backed down, and he's continually asked these questions and pushed forward. Levitt appeared taken aback by the question. I have not heard that proposed to the president, nor have I spoken to him about that idea, but I can certainly talk to our national security team and see if it's something the administration would entertain. Let's go. Who do I got to call right now? I'm going to call the White House, call somebody and be like, let's create that pathway. First and foremost, Tommy Robinson has been maligned, defamed, smeared, and he's not done anything. And in his political career, look, by all means, if you want to argue that he got into a fight with a guy, those things are bad. Yeah, but come on. Locking the dude in solitary confinement for his political activism, and that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. I say, let's give this guy an opportunity to speak his mind free from the confines of the corrupt British system. Trump should absolutely, if there is someone in the UK who is facing criminal prosecution who wants asylum, I say yes. Now understand, this does not mean you're going to get a whole lot of them. A lot of these people in the UK, they'll post something like, oh no, the Pakistani rape gangs were targeting children, and they get arrested for it. I doubt they're going to want to give up their homes, their money, their resources, and everything over what may be a relatively light but still bad jail sentence. And I know people are going to say, light. Look, somebody who gets like a year in jail in the UK may not be willing to give up their entire life, their country, and everything they believe in. but there are some people I do believe should be given the opportunity to live freely in these United States. This is what it's all about, baby. Telling the British, you are welcome here in these United States because your country is oppressive. That's the tradition, ain't it? They're going to mention that Marshall, 37, was kicked out of Mumford & Sons over his criticism of COVID lockdowns he previously wrote. He shared his support for the book Unmasked by Andy No in March of 2021. Over 24 hours, it was trending with tens of thousands of angry retweets and comments. He wrote for our column. His former bandmates headlined a swanky $50,000 per ticket fundraiser for the Democrats in the Hamptons last August in Tim Walz's first appearance in the campaign trail. Wow. Marshall left music and went on to create a podcast, Marshall Matters, for The Spectator, a conservative British publication owned by his father, Sir Paul Marshall. Well, wow, that worked out really well for him. The Spectator, that's a big publication. I'm a fan. He appeared in the White House briefing room on Monday as one of the recipients of the new media seat now placed there. I believe this was actually a special room they did, though. But his appearance polarized opinions online between those who welcomed the space for alternative media and others who questioned what expertise he had. He is a cultural influencer. He is also a scholar. He legitimately a learned man, okay? But more importantly, he has been through the ringer on these cultural issues, standing up for what he believed in and trying to compromise and still being attacked. And he decided to stand up and use what influence he had and keep the ship sailing. I respect Winston tremendously for everything he did. So you want to question his experience? Yeah, he's a cultural influencer of tremendous weight, Grammy Award-winning rock star from a massive band who was targeted with cancel culture and has now created a podcast where he is examining and exploring cultural issues for which he's a tremendous influence and asking questions particularly related to what he went through. How dare you? They say he absolutely destroyed Nancy Pelosi at an Oxford Union debate about populism. And this is a valid question watching what's going on in the UK, wrote one user. Thank you for raising this important issue. Winston Marshall is fabulous, true patriot. Gave up his lucrative profession to fight for conservative views. Yeah, patriot for what, the UK? I mean, yeah. Others were less kind. Retired banjo player Winston Marshall asking the White House to offer political asylum to British bigots. Sure. Don't care. I'll take it. That well-known British reporter and member of the White House press pool, Winston Aubrey Aladar de Balkan Marshall, another Krypton X, referencing Marshall's full name, which reflects his family's roots in France, Hungary, and Romania. Are they seriously just insulting him over his name? Is that really his name? I don't care. Marshall was the latest public figure to accuse authorities in the UK of using hate crime definitions to clamp down on free speech. It comes after the arrest of pro-life campaigner Adam Smith Connor in 23 after he refused to leave a safe zone around an abortion clinic. They legit arrested a woman for praying in her own mind. Now, I think a lot of people aren't going to want to abandon the UK. But of the people who are facing serious targeting and attacks, maybe they really want to. Maybe they want to say, you know what? I don't want to leave my country, but I have no choice. And in those instances, I welcome these individuals, 100%. You know, Carl Benjamin, good friend, he doesn't really have opinions that cross the line. If he did, they'd lock him up. He's a pretty moderate guy, and they need those voices to win back the UK and push back against that tide. If reasonable people like him were to leave the UK and take an asylum deal or something, the UK would be worse off, and we want them to win. But that being said, there are some people that are facing criminal charges for BS reasons. And if their life would be upended and destroyed and they have nowhere to go, then I say we take them. Quote, we have 250,000 people issued non-hate crime incidents since Smith Connor's arrest, Marshall claimed. In the year ending March of 24, 140,561 hate crimes were recorded by police in England and Wales, down slightly on the 147,000, hate crimes reported in the previous year. By far, the largest number of hate crimes arrests were race-related, followed by sexual orientation, disability, religion, and transgender-related hate crimes. Here's a comment. This is a good one. I left the UK 12 years ago, unhappy with the government's incursion into every aspect of life. Woke started there years before it came to the US. It used to be the land of outrageously free speech in practice, if not in law. My friends tell me it's become a big brother nightmare there now. That's really sad to hear. One person is happening here as well. Maine state rep was censured in March by Dem-controlled state Congress because she has spoken out against men and women's sports. The Speaker of the House in Maine has stated she cannot speak or vote when the Congress is in session unless she recants. Total dictatorship, speech control in the state. Not allowing her to vote disenfranchises her constituents, leaving them with no representation. The entire district should refuse to pay any state taxes. Wow. No taxes without representation. No taxation. Shout out to Winston Marshall and Marshall Matters. I respect it, and I say let's roll, baby. I'm going to wrap it up there. Smash the like button. Share the show with everyone you know. Thank you all so much for hanging out, and we'll see you tonight at Timcast IRL. We'll see you then.